Hey guys, and welcome to Slash/Rex Games. So now that we've covered enough of the platform series, I'm going to be able to show you guys how we can take those mechanics and put them right into our network game. Okay, so as always, I've got my server on the left and our client on the right. So at this point in time, our players are represented by these really ugly circles, different colored circles. So one green for a local player and red for all remote instances of everyone else on our server. So let's expand sprites and create a folder called player. Then let's import all the sprites we'll need. Okay, so create, load. Here I've got them here. Sprite man duck, let's start with that one. SPR man duck. We have to modify our mask, manual. So this has to be 20. That has to be 0. This has to be 44 and 63. Okay, good. Center that. Okay, next one. Who is next? Jump. Okay, SPR man jump. So this is going to be pretty much the same as what I did in the platform tutorial. Manual 20 0 44 63. Okay, center. All right. Next we have man run. Modify 20 0 44 63. Okay, good. Center that. Next one is stand. Sprite man stand. Even though he doesn't have any sub-images, we have to give him that mask. 20 0 44 63. Very good. Center him. And finally, it is the walk. Sprite man walk. Modify 20 0 44 63. Fantastic. Okay, let's do it. So let's just double check that these are all centered. Yes, 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 and yes. Fantastic. Everything is all ready to go. Next thing, let's create our block, which is going to be our solid. There we go. Let's edit that. Let's make a new. I'm going to say 64 by 64. And let's go for /Rex Games Lime here. If I can remember 224 31. Oops. There we go. Fantastic. Cool, we've got our block. So let's add that block object. So we've got it there. Done. Cool. Alright, so if you haven't seen my platform series, I do strongly suggest you pause this one and go watch that first. Because I'm not going to be going into any of the mechanics, any of the platform mechanics at all. I figured it was best to cover that separately. I'm just going to be importing the scripts and making sure that our movement doesn't break from our last tutorial. Okay, so do check that out. You can click the link in the banner or the link in the description below. So I'm going to go to scripts over here. I'm going to create a new group. I'm going to call this platform mechanics. And I'm going to be importing all the scripts that I created in my platform series. Not as tab though. There we go. Detect key, ground check, jump check, right check, left check, and collision check. Oh, there's also stand check. There we go. Cool. So these are all in. If you don't know what's going on here, do check out my platform series on that. Cool, 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 cool. Fantastic. So that's done. Let's minimize that. Let's collapse sprites. We don't need that now. Expand this a little. Alright. So let's go to our local player. Here he is. Okay. So, things to do. We have to have a create event. Drag in some code. Okay, so we need to initialize variables that the platform mechanics can use. So I'm just going to paste them from a notepad here. There we go. As seen in the platform series. Gravity, speed, jump speed, horizontal speed, vertical speed. Our state, the direction we're facing. Are we jumping? Are we falling? Our friction. We've got walking acceleration, walking max speed, running acceleration, running max speed and our terminal velocity when we are falling. Okay, cool. So then I'm going to open up our step, and right in here we had some basic player movement. It was sort of a top-down effort, so I'm just going to nuke all of this, absolutely all of that stuff. We don't want to be doing top-down, we are doing platform. Then I'm going to be pasting in all those scripts as we did in the platform series. There they are, detect key. Ground check, jump check, right check, left check, collision check, stand check. Set sprite doesn't seem to be there. Let's check that out. Set sprite. So let me go ahead and just manually add that one. SCR set sprite. Oops. Like that. Cool, cool. So that just sets our sprite up depending on some of the characteristics of our player. Fantastic. So now if we go back to local player, open up our step. There we go. Everything is colored in. It has been detected. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So, now that we're doing all of that, our player is going to be confined to the laws of a platform game environment. But our previous tutorials didn't set up extra variables needed to make sure that everything would run smoothly from this point. For example, we're only sending the player ID, our X and our Y every step, and that's a 7. Certain things we need to add to this. For example, we need to send our sprite index, we need to send our image index, and we need to send our direction. Which way should those sprites be displayed? Okay, so cool. Firstly, let's have a little think. So our sprite index is going to be an integer. If we expand our sprites over here in our players, all these sprites will have an integer between 0, I think, and the maximum number there are. But if the order of these changes, that's not going to help us at all. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that when we do get this on another client side, the order in which his sprites might have been compiled together will not result in the incorrect sprite being shown. So let's start that off. Let's create a temporary variable called sprite number. Set that to 0. Then let's switch on our sprite index. Okay, so let's create the skeleton case. SPR man, let's say stand. Oh, why does it say stands? Rename that to just man stand. Cool. Stand. Break. Then we've got case SPR man. Let's do jump. Break. Then we've got SPR man. Let's do duck. Break. Then we've got SPR man. Walk. Break. Case. Oh, that's nice. Well, case. Case SPR man. I think the last one is run. Break. Okay, cool. So let's assign these some numbers and fix spelling. There we go. So if we're over here, let's make that a 1. Let's make this one a 2. Duck is going to be a 3. Walk is going to be a 4. Run is going to be a 5. Let's indent this nicely. Very cool. Okay. So depending on what sprite this script is set for us, we're going to be converting that into an integer that we know is always going to be fixed on our server and on our client side from 1 to 5. And another cool thing about this is that's an integer. That's a really small piece of information that we're sending across to the server. So let's grab line 37 and copy it and paste it over there at line 41. It's a U8 and it's going to be our sprite number. So remember that. After Y, we need to intercept an integer of U8 type that is going to be our sprite number. Cool. So now let's do the direction. Var d. Now I can't use dir because that is in one of these scripts. So I'm just going to say var d. Set that to 0. Initialize that. Let's actually move it lower down over here. So those can be together. These can be together. Then I'm going to switch on our player's direction, which is dir. If he's left, let's do that, and if he is right, that's facing. Okay, and we need to do that. So if he's facing left, let's set D equal to 1. And if he's facing right, let's set D equal to 2. Very simple. Then again, we write another U8 called dir. Very cool stuff. Now we have to send our image index, so let's actually put that after the sprite number because those are related to one another. So here we're going to say image index. I'm not going to be needing to switch on the image index and assign it an integer because each sprite is going to have the fixed number of sub-images. So that doesn't matter at all. Okay, fantastic. So 7, player ID, X, Y, sprite number, image index, and direction. Actually, this needs to be D, sorry. And D. Okay, cool stuff. Let's accept that. What else do we need to change in our player? What does the draw event do? It sets a color and draws a circle. That's yuck. We don't want that. Delete it. Our escape is just going to end the game. That's okay. Oh no, it's going to send us to the main menu. That's fine. Let's add an outside room event. Just in case we fall out of the room because we do have gravity and whatnot. Our X is going to be our X start. And our Y is going to be our Y start. There we go, that's good. Cool, so let's go over to the server and let's intercept those. Server land on our left. So remember that's going to go into our controller, which is going to be intercepted our networking event, which is going to be a network type data, which is going to be handled by the handle incoming packet script. So that's obviously the one we need to change. Scroll down here into our 7. Cool. We need to extract our sprite number, buffer read, and this is from a buffer, and it's a buffer U8. Remember to keep the same types. Then we've got our image index is going to be the same, also U8. Then we've got our direction. I'm going to say dir equals that. Oops. So we've extracted everything we need. And let's see what this does. Okay, it tells other players about this change. So it's actually pretty simple. We can just write 3 of these. 1, 2, 3. They are type U8. Remember, it's just a messenger. And let's paste these in. And then guess what? It is back into client land. I'm actually going to copy these. Cool. So that's going to read those in, and it's just going to send them off to all the other players. That is correct. Okay. Remember, that's also a 7. So back to client land. That's also going to end up in handle incoming packets. Let's expand this. So this is going to be intercepted by all the other players in the game. Not the person that sent it, but everyone else that's receiving it. Let's go down to 7. There it is. So let's paste these in. Easy. Sprite number, U8. Image index, U8. Direction, U8. I'm actually going to call this D. But anyway, sprite number, image index, and D for direction. So here's our remote player. So let's expand this. And now we've got to convert those integers back into resources. So we need to switch on our sprite number, for example. That's the first one. Let's do our cases out here. This is going to be case 1, break, and we're going to do that all the way up to, I think it was 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's the exact opposite of what we did when we sent them off. Sprite index equals SPR man stand. And let's actually bring that up for some reference. So let's expand this on our left side of the screen. Local player. Step. Let's expand this on the right. Cool, it was stand. And then it was jump. So let's just copy these, paste them everywhere. Cool, so then it was jump, then it was duck, then it was walk, then it was run. Let's indent these nicely. Cool. So that takes care of our sprite. Next, let's work with the image index. That's as simple as saying image index equals image index. Very simple. What's next? The direction. Okay, so let's do another switch. Let's switch on D for direction. I think we have a 1 and a 2. Let's paste those in. If we get a 1, then we're left. If we get a 2, then it's right. So this is going to be image x scale. So let's see. We can actually close this one. Our sprites are all facing the right. All facing to the right. So it means if we receive a 1, which means left, then we need to invert that. So that needs to be -1. And if it's 2, it's right, which means it's the same as the resource has been set up. So that's just a 1. Pretty cool, pretty simple. Done, done, done. Alright, so actually that's it. Save for actually creating our game world, we have now converted our top-down sort of test mechanics into the platform realm. So this is the very first step into the direction we want to head. So I'm going to go through everything we've done up to this point, just so that we all understand what's going on. And then we're going to be jumping back into the client, and we're going to create some sort of game world that we can run around, and we can see new players joining and leaving and stuff like that. And you can make sure that the remote players' sprites and image indexes and directions are being updated on the fly as we get those messages. So that's going to be really cool. So to start things off, let's minimize everything here. We don't need to see that. We have our local player. Let's give him the stand sprite. Same with the remote player. Let's just say default they are standing, just so that they have something. So in our local player, we initialized a whole bunch of variables. In our step event, we made sure that we conform to our platform mechanics. We're creating a temporary variable to represent our sprite number. We are setting that sprite number up depending on which sprite this script at line 8 has set us. So now we have an integer that we can decode on the other client side to make sure that our representation has the exact same sprite as we have on our side. Then we're creating a temporary variable to represent our direction. We're setting that up with lines 35 to 44. So before we were sending the 7, which only had the player ID, the X, and the Y coordinates. Now to that we're appending our number, that's our sprite number that we sorted out over there, and our image index, and our direction, which is represented by D. And that's going all the way into our server. It's being handled by handle incoming packets down to 7. It's being intercepted by these 3. Remember, they're all U8s. And then it's just being sent off to all other players. Right there. Pretty simple. So that's going to be flying into our client side. So all the other clients are going to get that into handle incoming packets. Let's see. There it is. In here. Let's look for a 7. There it is. So we're extracting those variables from our buffer. There they are. This was here already. All we're doing is adding our sprite number decoding and our image index and our D for direction right over there. Pretty simple stuff. So that's all good. So let's go to our remote player real quick. Let's see what he's got up here. Should we be concerned with any changes? Name and ID, that's fine. He is drawing the remote player ID and his remote player name. Let's create a font that's small. Let's see. We've got a font main. That's pretty big. Let's make FNT small. I think I like Lily. There it is. Let's make this 18. I think should be good. And let's say draw set color. That's fine. Draw set font. FNT small. Good. Okay, so that's going to have the ID and the name. And we don't need this circle anymore. And we also need to draw self. That was something and we would have forgotten. So we're drawing ourselves, which is the remote player. He's drawing 2 lines of text in red. So that's the ID and the name. Cool. Okay. So let's go to our room over here, game world. What does it currently look like? Doesn't have anything in there because we didn't have gravity, so it didn't matter. So now we can actually have to create some sort of game world. Okay, so that's something. We can test our collisions, we can test running around and jumping and all kinds of interesting things. Let's just make sure that we've got enough space. Yeah, our player will be able to fit under there and fall through there quite nicely. Okay, fantastic. So let's test this out and see what happens. I mean, what could possibly go wrong at this point? Let's save everything. Run our game and add some guest players. Okay, so one is JP. And the other one was Sam. Let's join game. Fantastic, look there, JP and Sam are both in a game. They can run around, they are being set the correct sprites. Everything is going fine. It seems they are moving around a little bit fast. That's because our room speed is 60, whereas the platform mechanics that I developed are set for a room speed of 30. So we've just got to go into our local player create and divide all our magic numbers by 2. So that pretty much wraps up the very first stage of adding the platform mechanics to our multiplayer game.